in 2007. She has worked as a researcher at the Ministry of Public Health in Qatar, at the Institute for Global Health and the Center for Research in Environmental Epidemiology in Barcelona, Spain. She's manager of the Clinical Nutrition and Epidemiology Diseases Laboratory at the Department of Social Medicine and Epidemiology at the University of Crete. Currently, she holds the position of scientist at the Biobank for Medical Research. And Eleni, I will let you begin your presentation now. Go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you, Scott. Please, can you give
I believe we can see your screen now.
Hello, welcome to Qatar Biobank Showcase Educational Series organized by the National 100K Plus Cohorts Consortium. I would like to thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to present the journey of Qatar Biobank from conceptual until today. I'm excited to take you through our journey, share with you our strategy, and hopefully share some tools we've used to help you plan or develop your biobanking strategy. I'm very happy to answer your questions at the end. And if there is anything not covered, please consider signing up to the remaining Qatar Biobank webinars over the next week. And if we still haven't covered it, you are very welcome to reach out to us directly. Before I start my presentation, I have nothing to declare related to this presentation. The objectives of my talk today is to provide you with the tools to design your biobanking strategy, identify the key stakeholders, and design your operational plan. These are the tools that we've used to develop our biobank. So I will start with a brief introduction about biobanks, and then I will take you through on how to manage a human biobank, how to design an operation resilience plans by sharing Qatar Biobank experience. So let me take you on a journey. Qatar is a small country, the Arabian Peninsula. You may have heard Qatar recently because we have hosted the FIFA World Cup 2022. Some of you, you may have visited us during this time. Qatar has a population of 2.7 million and around 88% are expats. So let me share with you a little bit about Qatar Biobank. We've been established in 2012 and supported by the Qatar Foundation, the Ministry of Public Health, Hamad Medical Corporation, which are the general hospital here in Qatar, and guided by the Imperial College of London. Qatar Biobank is a unique resource in the region. We are a standalone biobank that hosts many studies. And what I mean about that is that we are not under any academia or hospital environment. Our biobank houses our recruitment and registration team, our clinical and data collection facilities, our laboratories, our medical review team, research access office, and IT resources, all under one roof. So who we are a member of Qatar Foundation, and we are acting as the National Center for Biological Samples and Information in Qatar. And what we do, we see ourselves as a scientific partnership between the research community and the people here in Qatar to build together a better, healthier future for the next generation. We design and we implement studies that allow for the collection, processing, and storage of biological samples and associated data for research. So let me give you like a short introduction about biobank industry. So biobanks are facilities for the systematic collection and storage of high-quality biological samples and their associated data in a structured and analyzable manner under an ethical and legal framework. There are different types of biobanks depending on the type of the sample they store, the aim of the collection they have, or the type of the organization they belong to. In this talk, we will concentrate on the human biobanks that, according to the type of the population they recruit are divided into the population-based, recruiting subjects from the general population, disease-based, recruiting patients for specific diseases, and clinical-based, recruiting general patients from the healthcare system. So let's look at some of the basic requirements when setting up your biobank. Key components are like puzzle pieces that link together to make the biobank. Starting from your identified target population, the ethical, legal, and social implications, including the institutional review board and informed consent form. We will talk more about this in our final webinar about biobanking services. Another important component is the data and specimen required for the collection strategy. Infrastructure is the heartbeat of your biobank and allows departments to communicate. So this will be covered in greater details in IT webinar. Analytical platforms such as different omic data are invaluable resource to supplement biological and associated clinical data. Identifying appropriate areas for application for the collected data and samples impacts the effectiveness of the biobank. Building a biobank is not an easy process, but with a careful design focus on identifying clear, feasible requirements, you can create a valuable resource for research. Here are listed some of the requirements that you might need to consider while you're planning your biobanking strategy. So where to start? You can start for planning for sustainability. Sustainable biobanking is not straightforward, and it depends on the factors that impact your biobank. It requires a balance among the social, financial, and operational factors, connected to relationship overlap, and identify areas of challenge. There are 9 recommendations that we followed, and these are to develop our business plan, follow a user-centered approach, identify and show our value, select the business model, track and control the cost, find multiple funding sources, engage our stakeholders, become an attractive partner, and ensure that the samples and the data are reused. Now that we've talked about some general requirements, I would take you through Qatar Biobank's experience. So we set our ambitions and strategies in a business plan. We gather the support of the different stakeholders, identify and tackle obstacles, challenges, and structure the organization and its finances appropriately. In our business plan, we involved key stakeholders and external collaborators. We followed a continuous cycle of planning, implementation, assessment, and improvement. Our mission is to act as Qatar National Center for Biological Samples and Information to enable research. And our vision is to be a research enterprise platform to deliver personalized healthcare. Our strategic objectives are to sustain a biobank as a fully operational organization, internationally recognized for excellence, to create a biobank with sufficient numbers of participants contributing to high-quality data and biological samples for research, and to provide the region's most advanced biobank collection. On the right side, you will see that against each specific objective, we identify different initiatives. Our organizational structure includes the director and 6 different departments: the clinic and lab, the IT, the research access office, scientific and education department, the medical review office, and the communication and booking department. And we have the institutional review board and the scientific access committee that support our services, and their function will be covered in greater details in Biobanking Services webinar next week. We use a SWOT analysis to identify our strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Our main strengths were the vision and strategic plan supporting Qatar Biobank from higher authorities in a national level, the support of the main stakeholders, the centralized healthcare system, access to state-of-the-art infrastructure, and of course access to the Arab population. But this is our unique selling point. Of course, we had to identify our weakness that was mainly the small population size. We identify opportunities such as we are unique in our field and we could fill the gap in the market. The major threats identified were the education of or the awareness of the population, as they were not exposed before to the idea of a biobank, as well as we are relying heavily on the recruitment of participants. Therefore, bad publicity relating to biobanking may have a tremendous effect in our operation. Next tool we used was to perform a stakeholder analysis to identify, segment, and prioritize our stakeholders. We worked on strategies to engage our stakeholders tailored, made to fit to their needs. The stakeholder analysis was used also as an input to our Biobank's business plan, business model, and value proposition. So this is a list of the potential stakeholders. This is our stakeholder analysis, identifying participants, funding agencies, mainly here in Qatar, research institutions, academia, governmental bodies, and healthcare providers. Of course, the key to success is the satisfaction of the key stakeholders. Next tool we used is to identify the business model that fits better to us. It is important to mention that the business model is a value-based and not cost-based, and it is also important to decide carefully what business model fits to your biobank based on your own needs, your target stakeholders, available resources, and anticipated impact. At Qatar Biobank, we adopted the cost recovery model, donation-based model, and contract research model. So at Qatar Biobank, we charge users for services or access to samples and data. We are heavily dependent on public sources of funds, and also we are focused on established contracts with research institutes, pharma, and biotechnology companies. We also follow a user-centered approach. Our priorities are stakeholders. We have established an easy-to-use, standardized, and transparent procedures. We get continuous feedback from our stakeholders, either using surveys or focus groups. And we are trying to clearly communicate the right value proposition to the right stakeholders. So let me explain what a value proposition is. It is the aggregation of benefits a biobank offers to each of the stakeholder group in exchange for a certain cost. As an example, at Qatar Biobank, we have identified that the value proposition of our participants are our stakeholders, is the medical health feedback. So as the benefits increases, and the costs are removed, the motivation also increases. So by investing as a biobank into this value for our participants, we have managed not only to recruit participants in a preferable rate, but to have a waiting list of participants who want to be enrolled in different studies we perform. It is important to us to provide proof of our value, for example, by tracking performance indicators and impact analysis. Some of the different value categories related to the participant samples, data, services, and so on are the overall value of our biobank and your biobank. It is important to emphasize the indirect value, such as the generation of knowledge, and communicate that. Here is a graph showing our growth strategy in time, the different initiatives, and the different participant numbers. We started back in 2012 running a pilot study validating our tools like the questionnaires, clinical assessment, sample collection, processing and storage, as well as our IT infrastructure that our team will cover this in the next week. Till we reached to the ramp-up phase, recruiting 36 participants per day. The initiatives were designed and implemented based on the needs of our researchers and stakeholders. So as you can see from QBB initiatives, we have started working with the Ministry of Public Health on building and setting up a tissue biobank. We link with the electronic medical records. We are main providers of the Qatar Genome Project. And also because we are revising our study protocols and we collect the requirements from our stakeholders, there was a need of collecting data, MRI data for brain and whole body. So we started this at 2018. We have started working on cubic birth cohort study in COVID-19 biorepository. So I will show you the studies that we perform at Qatar Biobank. At Qatar Biobank, we perform different studies. The main cohort studies are the population-based cohort study, aiming to recruit 60,000 participants, adults, Qataris, or people that they live in Qatar for 15 years or more. This is based on an agnostic hypothesis, and the protocol is designed to fit for purpose for the latest sophisticated analytical platforms. In this study, we follow the participants every 5 years. The second collection is the Qatar birth cohort study, aiming to assess the synergetic role of environmental exposure and genetic susceptibility in the development of chronic diseases at early childhood. In this study, we aim to recruit 3,000 triads, the pregnant women, their husbands, and their children in different time points, following them up in different time points. Also, back in 2020, during COVID-19 outbreak in Qatar, the Qatar Scientific Reference and Research Task Force selected Qatar Biobank to be the key institution to manage the design and the setup of COVID-19 biorepository, aiming to deliver high-quality samples and data to support research around COVID-19. In this study, we recruited participants infected with COVID-19 and we follow up them during their disease period weekly and monthly after recovery for a year. We have also recruited participants before their vaccination against COVID-19 and follow them up for a year. Also, Qatar Biobank hosts the leftover samples from the National Virology Lab here in Qatar. Let me give you an overview of the visit in our facilities. Once potential participants come in our building, they are registered with us, and once they are consent, we start the collection of data through different questionnaires and clinical assessments such as anthropometric measurements, blood pressure, spirometry, ECG, treadmill test. Also, we are collecting imaging data such as retina images, 3D, carotid ultrasounds, IDEXA, and we assess also eligible participants for MRI visit. At MRI visit, we run brain and whole body MRI. We are collecting data via corneal confocal microscopy and vibration sensory test, as well as we run cognition functional tests for attention, psychomotor speed, executive function, and episodic memory. We are also collecting different types of biological samples such as saliva, urine, and blood. From blood, we are isolating viable cells, serum, plasma, buffy coat, red blood cells, DNA, and RNA. Our lab is fully equipped using robotic system for high throughput analysis. Please join our lab webinar to see for more details. It is important to mention that our IT infrastructure and the data warehouse linking the samples with the collected data, this will be covered in more details by our IT team next week. In summary, Qatar Biobank offers services, specimen data for researchers, and information for policymakers to develop evidence-based policies. We serve the Qatari population. Our participants are very happy to contribute to research as well as receiving their health feedback from our medical review office. Also, we are giving back to the community by acting as a screening clinic as we refer participants diagnosed with different types of diseases back to the healthcare system. Also by providing reports to different authorities related to the prevalence of diseases in our population. Main stakeholders are the researchers, students, pharma and academia, hospitals and other research entities that we provide to them access to our data and samples. Biobanks are an asset to support precision health in different levels, as the deep longitudinal profiling can provide evidences to assess disease risk at an individual level, detect early preclinical conditions, and initiate preventing strategies. We see ourselves as one of the main pillars in Qatar's precision health initiatives by providing a deep longitudinal phenotypic profiling of our participants that can lead to actionable health discoveries and provide relevant information for precision health. Now let me take you through the challenges but also the opportunities that we have faced over the years. A biobank in general can face challenges in different levels, such as in financial, operational, and social dimension. Business continuity is a challenge, and this is mainly related to the high cost related to the manpower, equipment, specimen handling, and others. A way to overcome this is by preparing a strategic framework, including sources for funds such as research grants or adopt a cost recovery business model. At operational level, a big challenge is to ensure the optimal utilization of your biorepository. Campaigns to promote and facilitate utilization of data and samples might help. And in the social level, one of the main challenges is accountability, both to the participants as well as to your funders. Here are the sustainability metrics for monitoring your biobank's deliverables is important, as well as to show how your biobank is complying with the ethical guidelines and policies. For us in Qatar Biobank, and more specific challenges we encounter in the Qatar Biobank population-based cohort study, where the long informed consent, the long format of the informed consent form, this is to comply with the Ministry of Public Health guidelines here in Qatar, where we have to develop a summary to highlight the main points to the participant at the end of the informed consent form. Incidental findings are a major challenge in a biobank, and what we did, we have agreements in place between us and the healthcare providers for referrals or for interpretation, let's say, of the MRI imaging to be provided by certified diagnostic centers. We face also other challenges that my colleagues will cover in the next webinars. But let me introduce you to our biggest challenge we faced and also show you how the tools that we had in place help us to adapt in a new reality. Let me recap. about our scope, applicability, and operation. So Qatar Biobank established to serve as the country's national center, providing adequate health information and biological samples to enable research, particularly in the field of precision health. Our core business includes the population-based cohort study that is our main source of data and specimens. We also provide services to the research community by allowing them to set up and implement nested studies using our research infrastructure. And our main aim is to support personalized health initiatives in Qatar. We regularly visit and review our operational plan to meet the requirements of our stakeholders. We are trying to meet the expectations of our community by providing incentives personal, such as medical screening, or general, such as research outcomes. And we are building a relationship with third parties, such as suppliers. Apart from our experience, we have established through the years a wide network of collaborators, as shown in the figure, in the health, governmental, and academic sectors. So here we are working against our different initiatives, focused on achieving our goals, and 2020 and COVID era comes. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a test of the level of responsiveness and preparedness in different fields, including efficient and effective biobanking operation worldwide. We had to transform our operations. And because a picture is worth 1,000 words, in this slide I just wanted to show to you how much we had to transform. In the left picture is Qatar Biobank staff collecting data during our usual operation in our facilities, and in the right side shows Qatar Biobank staff collecting data for COVID-19 repository project. In a short time, not more than 5 weeks, at Qatar Biobank we transformed our operations to accommodate the COVID-19 biorepository. Our staff had to be moved from our facilities and be allocated to the COVID-19 hospitals to recruit patients. I need to mention here that it's a big accomplishment for our team under such difficult circumstances to be flexible, to overcome all fears, personal resistances related to COVID-19 infection at that time, that we didn't have enough information. Of course, a big part played all the trainings in place and the heavy, focused and highly matured function in Qatar Biobank culture related to the health and safety practices that build the trust between the personnel and the QBB management. So we achieved to recruit like 2,000 participants within 4 months following the high standards of Qatar Biobank, achieving the collection of harmonized phenotypic data and the standardized collection, processing, and storage of biological samples. That these are requirements for the rapid generation of meaningful evidences to improve the management of COVID-19 or to support the research around COVID-19. I need to mention here that an important asset of our Qatar Biobank is the IT department that developed customized solutions for data collection and specimen traceability. So in this slide, you may see the main challenges and risks we faced together with the opportunities during our transition period. The main challenge was the continuity of our operation, together with the disruption of the supply chain and the new reality of working remotely. So by putting in place trainings for the safety of our personnel, developing in-house solutions for the delivery of data to the researchers, and by linking with the country's central supplies, we were able to overcome all these challenges, modify our operations, and going out from this crisis stronger. So COVID-19 pandemic has been a test of the level of responsiveness and preparedness, and due to the mature business continuity and risk management plan and the implementation of appropriate tools and our network with other stakeholders, we managed to create a robust framework for an effective pandemic response. The different biobanking tools that are in place here at Qatar Biobank help us to cope with the drastic changes that we faced at the time of COVID-19 outbreak, and also to continue our usual business as possible. These tools are part of a general framework that constitutes the Qatar Biobank operational resilience plans, as you can see in the figure on your right side. The organizational plans, such as the business plan and the business continuity plan, the best practices and guidelines, such as CISBER best practices for biobanking, the standards such as ISO and CAP, ISO standards and CAP that are requirements and opportunities to demonstrate competence, and the targeted tools like the training, certification, qualifications, and so on. All of them aim to provide high quality and fitness for purpose of our biobanking services. Here are the different standards we are certified with: quality management system, information security management systems, and biotechnology and biobanking for ISO standards. We are also CAP accredited for human specimen, and we are following ISBER best practices. It is important to decide the good practices for the sustainability that you will follow to be beneficial considering your own status as a biobank. The Economist had a publication on how science goes wrong, reporting that half of the published research cannot be replicated. Nature Survey showed that scientists agree that there is a reproducibility crisis. Replicating a study is an important way to ensure that there is a universal accuracy of a scientific claim. And access to structured, standardized, high-quality data or samples is a way to ensure reproducibility in research. Remember, biobanking is all about trust. Thank you for your attention. My colleague Wilma Lobo will take you through accreditation journey. Wilma, the floor is yours.
Excuse me, are we going to have a Q&A session now or at the end of the next presentation? You're on mute, Eleni.
Yeah, we can have
Sorry.
Q&A session right now. Sorry about that.
Would you like to take questions now? Or at the end of Wilma's presentation?
Is there any question?
Any questions from anyone online? Lanny, thank you for just, first of all, a tremendous overview of what the QBB has accomplished in 10 short years. It's really amazing. And I appreciate the outlook you took at the very beginning of carefully talking to the stakeholders under Biobank and finding out what it really needed to be, and then creating that sort of product, as you said, in a business sense, that was of value to the stakeholders, rather than just saying, let's start a biobank and then figure things out as we go along. You're very thoughtful about the whole team about how you came about this. And I think all of that preparation work at the beginning is really clear in what you showed in terms of all the different pre-planning you did, and then what you actually have as a product at the end. So we have a question in the chat. It's from an iPhone, and the question for you is, what's the biggest challenge you faced when establishing your biobank?
So there are different challenges. So the biggest challenge was, I think, to identify and convince the participants, the public, to trust the biobanking, because in the region it was the first, we were one of the first biobanks that we started. So there was not much culture of, people participating in a biobank. So our communication department, they had really to work hard to approach participants to come to our to be enrolled in our studies. So that was one of the challenge. Another challenge is when designing the different tools that we have used, questionnaires, is to adapt them to the population here in the region, because most of the biobanking like the biobanks, they were, or the studies, they were, or the validated protocols, they were outside like in Western countries. So again, it's something to consider when you're collecting data to fit to your population. Also, the multinational population, this is another challenge, let's say, for our food frequency questionnaire, that you have like a big range of different dietary habits that you need to capture. So I think these were the main challenges, because in terms of funding at that time, we had really like support from our different stakeholders, from Qatar Foundation, the Ministry of Public Health.
Okay, thank you. Another question in the chat from Amal Katan. The question is this a population biobank, or is it also a disease biobank?
So yeah, so we are recruiting from general population for a population-based cohort study. However, we have a disease biobank, like one of our main collections is the COVID-19 biorepository, that our target population is participants. Of course, from our general population, there are like subpopulations that they are, you can select subpopulations from there, that they've been through like diabetics, so they have different medical conditions. Mm-hmm. And in the future, now we are almost ready to start our tissue biobanking. So
tissue, okay, great. I have one question for you. You mentioned that one of your interests in terms of research is to look at the exposome or environmental exposures that your population may have. What sort of data do you collect for that exposome? Is it climate data? Is it diet? Is it a combination of many things, air quality?
Yeah. So yeah. So for we are using different tools. One of the tools is the questionnaire that we are collecting data related to the lifestyle, the exposure from the nutrition. We have like in the cubic study, we have a really extended questionnaire related to the exposures, like from the cosmetic use, from the use of like what type of water they're drinking, our participants. And then also we are collaborating with other stakeholders here in Qatar, and we work together by collecting data in the air pollution, radiation, noise. So these are mainly. And of course, for Biomarkers right now, we haven't run any, but it is in our plan.
Okay, thank you very much. One last question, and then we'll take our break. And that question comes from Adil Haresi. He asks, what are the ways you use to convince your population to participate in your biobank? What were your recruitment strategies?
So our communication team, we have a special webinar from our communication team, and they're going to expand more. But just to give you a hint, our participants, once they come here at Qatar Biobank, after they have a 3-hour visit, a week after or 10 days after, we invite them back to come and we give them like their medical report. So all of our staff is licensed, and we are part of the biological samples. We send them for diagnostic biomarker analysis at the General Hospital here in Qatar, Hamad Medical Laboratories, and we receive back diagnostic data. Our medical review office interprets this information and then provide to the participants like a full medical feedback to them. And in case that our participants, they need to be referred, we are connected to the healthcare system and we refer them. So important also, it is that our participants, they are coming here and they are exposed to like a 5-star experience. So they're gonna feel that they are by themselves in our clinic. They don't need to wait. One nurse is assigned for them. So it is a motivation to them that they are receiving something out of their participation in research. I think this is a good incentive. As I show like a value proposition for our stakeholders, like our participants, this is important for them.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to draw this first part to a close then. And thank you again so much for a wonderful presentation and answering questions. There's still a few questions in the chat. If you get a chance, you could answer those in the chat.
Okay.
But let's take 5 minutes, and we will start again at 50 minutes after the hour, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, depending on your time zone. So at 50 minutes after the hour. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Quick break. Okay, everyone, we'll get started in 1 more minute. Okay, everyone, let's get started again with part 2 of our presentation from the Qatar Biobank and part of our IHCC Biobank training. Our next presentation is from Wilma Lobo. Wilma has a master's and a bachelor's degree in international business management and computing and information systems. She is a business support specialist at the Qatar Biobank, and she joined the Biobank in 2013 as a clinic and lab coordinator. She's played a key role in creating several procedures and establishing workflows in the Biobank that develop quality management. She led the role as the ISO coordinator and worked closely with the ISO certifying companies to close gaps and achieve all the certifications in 2014. And for quality management, Wilma was the document and records controller. She is also the internal auditor and a team member for the Action Request Committee that oversees the non-conforming products and services for the Qatar Biobank. And Wilma also is the business continuity plan champion and has recently been part of the crisis management team. Wilma, I'll hand the presentation over to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Wilma, you are muted.
Wilma, we did not see your presentation yet. When you select what screen to share, you want to select your presentation.
I think, Scott, because you are sharing your screen with, so we see you. That's why maybe.
I'm not sharing anything.
Now we see your. It's not transferred to our site. Yeah.
Sharing is enabled.
Still see you. Yeah. It's either me. No, it's not me. It has to be Wilma. Yeah. Can you invite Wilma, not Mia?
I think if you go to sharing your screen, let me see if I can.
Yeah, just give me a moment.
Okay. Please bear with us as we work out our technical difficulties. Yay, that works.
All right.
Thank you very much, Wilma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eleni, for that lovely presentation. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on the second edition of Webinar Day 1, Design Your Biobanking Strategy. I have no conflict of interest or commercial bias to declare related to my presentation. The objective for my presentation is demonstrate the quality tools to ensure quality in a human biobank, linking quality tools in Qatar Biobank, identifying the challenges and opportunities. These are the basic stages of biobanking through which a biospecimen travels before its utilization in research. Any minuscule mismanagement may lead to a quality degradation of the biospecimen and the resulting data. Therefore, it is critical maintaining meticulous efforts in any aspect concerning the samples and data. QBB began its pilot phase in 2012. Since then, we focused on governance and ELSI. Biobanks need to be ethically robust, legally compliant with legal frameworks, and supported by the community to benefit from a long-term research. As Dr. Eleni mentioned, the governance in ELSI is a key component. QBB unified its ELSI framework through scientific committees and IRB obtained through Ministry of Public Health, Qatar. We will have more details on this on our webinar day 5. Process standardization. Secondly, standardizing our procedures and records is always crucial. QBB ensures its documents are well structured and periodically reviewed for updates in the protocol, technology, or regulatory practices. Infrastructure. To avoid as much as possible the human interventions, thereby reducing errors, we prioritized automizing workflows. In 2015-16, QBB invested resources in automizing workflows for clinic, lab, and research. Staff training and competencies. Fourthly, ensuring that staff is adequately trained and competent to perform consents, questionnaire, and use of validated equipment. QBB ensures training from manufacturers, technical and application specialists is provided frequently. A training and competency framework was created to ensure required training was provided and monitored regularly for competencies. License. As mandated by Qatar's national regulations, we applied for clinical and lab staff and facility licensing. The staff licensing requires verifications of credentials from the university, a good standard certificate from their home country, about 40 CPT points annually, medical fitness certificate, etc. The staff license renewal with Qatar's Ministry of Public Health is every 2 years. We also applied for various types of facility licenses, and this will be explained more on our webinar day 5. Risk planning. For risk assessment, QBB used BBMRI framework to obtain SWOT analysis, business continuity plan, financial viability plan. This kind of assessment allowed us to plan better our daily operations and long-term resource requirements. Quality certifications. Finally, quality certifications are vital to any business. The decision of opting the standard is up to every biobank. quality certifications greatly improved the processes in QBB. Our journey started in 2012 with establishing legal frameworks. We did this using Ministry of Public Health, Qatar guidelines, and ISBER practices. In 2014, we obtained ISO 9001-2008 and ISO 27001-2013 certifications. In 2017, we were certified for ISO 9001-2015 and certified for 27001-2013. In 2020, we obtained CAP accreditation for the diagnostic lab. In 2020, we renewed our CAP accreditation and also achieved the ISO biobanking certificate. As Qatar Biobank is one of its kind to be established in Qatar and the region, we took every effort to start right. Over the decade as we evolved, we adopted in our strategy planning and daily operations the ISBER best practices, ISO standards, CLSI guidelines, CAP checklist, industry best practices, and manufacturer recommendations. I will demonstrate few scenarios of how we implemented each of these tools to the best of our capability and enhanced our products and services. As stated in ISBER Best Practices 3rd edition of 2012, the repository should implement small-scale pilot studies to validate new protocols, equipment, laboratory tests, or testing services when possible. Pilot or feasibility studies can identify problems or critical points and instigate preventive actions at an early stage of collection, handling, and processing before a larger study is undertaken. QBB followed this practice, creating a 2-year pilot run on all aspects of operations from 2012 to 2014. The pilot study not only helped us to determine new processes and identifying training required before implementing new protocol, but we also released medical findings. In this slide, I would like to give you a glimpse of the 3 ISOs with their respective clauses implemented in QBB. The first image are the clauses of the ISO 9001-2015 of the quality management systems. The second image are the clauses of the ISO 27001-2013 of the information security management systems. The third image are the clauses of ISO 2387-2018 of the biobanking standards. Amongst these, the ones in the green circle are common amongst them, while the orange circles are uncommon. In Qatar Biobank, to record, evaluate, and monitor our non-conformities, we use a tool or a form called action request. This slide is an example of how, starting with ISO 9001-2008, later ISO 9001-2015, and transitioning to ISO 2387, we had improved the process of controlling non-conformities in QBB. In the year 2013, we started with a paper version of the action request form to capture the corrective action and opportunities for improvement. This form had to be manually filled and moved from desk to desk. For more complex action requests or non-conformities, an interdepartmental meeting was called for. Since we were still in the pilot phase, we had many action requests which called for better management. In the year 2017, with increase in staff and process, an action request committee was formed to manage this process. The form was now semi-automated and available on QBB portal. This has also greatly helped in complying with ISMS standards. In 2022, while we implemented the 2387 biobanking standards, the clause 71121 states the risk, the biobank shall mitigate impacts of non-conformity, implement corrective actions in proportion to the risk presented by non-conforming output, and prevent reoccurrence. Hence, we integrated risk-based approach within this form. The The form is assigned, reassigned, or escalated through QBB platform, making them efficient and transparent for audit purposes. Risk is calculated by both risk owners before and after the corrective actions are taken. If residual risk is still high, QBB management is further notified for corrective actions and provision of resources. The Research Access Office was established in 2014. Hence, these activities were not included in the ISO certification scope in 2014. In 2015, we initiated pilot study for our samples delivery to researchers on a small scale. With the increase in research requirements, the request for research access projects increased. We developed research access policy, procedure, and work instructions to streamline this process. We will provide more insight on this during our day 5 of the webinar. During the ISO 23887 implementation and to satisfy the clause of 7.12.2 content of the report, we did a major improvement in the lab quality report. As you can see on the right, our report template provides all three phases of sample life cycle, that is pre-analytical, analytical, and post-analytical information immediately to our researchers. In 2014, our infrastructure was minimal and under development. We used tons and tons of printed forms, logs, checklists, and records. These had to be controlled on desks or in locked cabinets to ensure participant privacy was not being breached. We placed several controls on our documents. Every document had a watermark for classification. We developed asset register with the risk classification. The risk classification was not limited to the devices itself, but to the personnel who used them to the information generated from these assets. The higher the risk of those personnel or their work devices had to be more secure. We built standalone server rooms with authorized access and environmental controls. In 2017 recertification, software applications were better controlled for information security. Our medical team would obtain outsourced results through secure FTP links. Equipment service engineers were provided with limited access to the equipment or application they were servicing or fixing under the supervision of QBB personnel. In 2022, ISO 23887 recommended standardization of the date format in application. The exercise was performed to ensure clinic and lab applications were date synced. ISPER best practices states the repository should have a procedure for periodic verification of the inventory and associated data. Random sampling from each storage unit using a predefined acceptable quality level can be used for QC purposes. Similarly, ISO 23887 clause 7.7.7 states the biobank should verify the biological material inventory at planned intervals by a defined procedure. Those who are involved in this process, we know that the process of auditing the sample inventory is a cumbersome task requiring lots of man hours. We had to brainstorm on how we could audit this in the best possible manner. Lots of plans were developed and scrutinized. Finally, we set formula and criteria for inventory verification. My colleagues from the lab will elaborate more on this tomorrow. The next slide is about improvement using CLSI guidelines and Abacus tool. Process or method validation parameters and acceptance criteria was taken from CLSI guideline for our in-house QBB validation. CLSI ensures laboratory validation, regulatory compliance, instructs to follow stringent and most cost-effective validation procedures with respect of minimum requirements for analytical and clinical practice, which contributes to prevent errors and improve overall laboratory quality testing. Abacus tool is an Excel add-in having all incorporated statistical calculations according to CLSI and ISO 15189 standard for medical laboratories, which enhanced following the requirements in a systematic way. This is Qatar Biobank's CAP accreditation timeline. In 2019, QBB established a diagnostic lab for microarray chip for genotyping test. This required to be CAP accredited. We decided to obtain CAP accreditation for general, common, and molecular pathology checklist. In our first self-inspection in November 2019, we had about 77 deficiencies. Thereafter, QBB achieved its first accreditation with 0 deficiencies and no recommendations. Similarly, in 2022, we re-accredited to ourselves with 0 deficiencies and no recommendations. These slides talk about how we improved using CAP standards proficiency testing program. The external proficiency testing was a big milestone for us. We purchased PT from a US PT accredited lab. The PT was for customized microarray chip for genotyping for clinical diagnostic. It was a split sample concordance analysis. We overcame major challenges in importing biological samples. In 2022, we purchased PT program from Integrated Biobank of Luxembourg, as recommended by ISBER. As CAP standards mandates, PT program should be minimum twice per year. We have adopted this practice into our research lab as well. Improvement using CAP standards for health and safety. In 2014, we had 9 general health and safety guidelines that sufficed ISO and Qatar's regulatory facility licensing requirements. However, CAP standards mandated more specific lab health and safety guidelines. We assigned official lab safety officers, committee, and provided the personnel with training from the Hamad Medical Corporation laboratory, which was already CAP certified. This allowed us to build our safety documents with better knowledge and experience. Improvements using CAP standards. We purchased an Excel add-in software to assist in performing method and process validations to minimize statistical human intervened calculations. We collaborated with various international labs to provide us with PT programs. Sustainability in health and safety was created by competent safety officers, health and safety committees, and the policies and procedures to generate staff education and ongoing safety awareness. Over time, this comprehensive safety program made improvements and moved to the important goal of preventing staff injuries, loss, or deterioration of any samples. Embedding the CAP standards checklist into QMS framework set our staff on a learning and development projectile. We have better awareness and recognition in our community. Improvements using industry best practices and manufacturer recommendations. For cryolab, we do not have any national safety regulations in Qatar for liquid nitrogen. Hence, QBB decided to procure the liquid nitrogen tanks, its infrastructure, and environmental safety controls only from an ISO 13485 certified manufacturer. The ISO 13485 specifies requirements for a quality management system where an organization needs to demonstrate its ability to provide medical devices and related services that constantly meet customer and applicable regulatory requirements. We ensure that the local authorized supplier is also certified to quality certifications. To further develop our liquid nitrogen safety plans and work instructions, we relied on the British Compressed Gases Association BCGA Code of Practice. For RNA storage, During a sample retrieval in 2019, we had a non-conformity in which we found 3 packaging tubes were found broken. Upon investigations with manufacturer, we found these tubes could be stored at a maximum minus 70 degrees Celsius, while we were storing at minus 80 degrees C. Manufacturer storage and RNA extraction recommendations were taken, and accordingly, QBB work instruction was modified and staff training was provided. Our local supplier for the blood tubes was an ISO certified center. They had a clear process on raising concerns with manufacturers. Hence, within 3 weeks of incidents, we were able to close the short-term corrective action for this non-conformity. Regarding our MRI, QBB performs MRI whole body and brain scans as a part of our study protocol. Again, we do not have any national safety regulations in Qatar for MRI. We followed same procurement steps as we did with our cryo lab. To further develop our MRI safety plan and work instructions, we use the American College of Radiology, ACR guidance, to document the best safety practices. When we purchase any new equipment, consumables that directly impact our sample's quality, or maintenance or calibration services, we ensure that our scope of purchase mentions that only a quality certified or a CE or a FDA certified manufacturers can participate in the scope of purchase. Exclusions are rarely done. We recommend our local supplier to have quality certifications to avoid any non-conformities during shipping, installation, validation, and training. In this slide, I'll brief you about the challenges while implementing the standards or certifications. First challenge we faced is which standard or practice to adopt. We faced the same dilemma while choosing between ISO 9001 or 27001. Again, we had the same dilemma between CAP biorepository or ISO biobanking. In QBP, we purchased these standards, read through, and tried to have an understanding, and then selected what is more efficient to adopt. We need to think carefully about what certification and accreditations we want and need, and how it will best benefit our organization. We need to consider the right time to start the journey of certification. The next challenge is, while choosing a certification body, it's important to evaluate a few companies to select the best fit for your organization. 2 points to consider are if that agency utilizes the latest, most relevant standards, and if they themselves have the latest accreditation. The timeline of certification training depends on numerous factors, including studying the requirements, the level of preparation of an organization, and the size and complexity of the organization. Certification requires a sincere commitment of time and resources. Human resources remain the most challenging resource. We need to have the infrastructure set up, we need to purchase several controls. It also requires considerable amount of time and money. You need to do a resource needs analysis to ensure you evaluate these factors. Staff needs to be trained and competent. This requires huge efforts as we need to pull them out of daily operations. Internal auditors need training and a lot of experience before they can audit independently. This again requires skills and training. As we have limited authorized suppliers, we had to educate them on the requirements of temperature-controlled supply chain, providing calibration certificates with criteria, inclusion of reagent lot number and delivery records, and more. Renewal cycles. Every certification has a renewal cycle. CAP is every 2 years for re-accreditation. ISO 9001 and 27001 is a 3-year recertification, and ISO 2387 is every 2 years. They happen at various months of the year, so we are all in a vicious cycle of audits and continuous improvement. The pros and cons of quality certifications. The pros are, it definitely helps you to understand your organization better, focus more on quality, you improve your products and services, you improve morale and job satisfaction, you improve customer satisfaction. The cons to these are, certification process are complicated and requires greater accountability. More than one standard exists for any industry. Auditor's perspective matters. An auditor may require more documents or less documents. Costs involved to comply with the standards. Costs involved for certification itself. The key benefits using the certification or accreditation tools. Quality is something every organization strives for. Certification ensures your stakeholders that your practices meets industry standards. You will be able to gain trust of your stakeholders, minimize risks, reduce inefficiency, improve customer feedback. This trust becomes a cornerstone between us and our researchers, participants, employees, suppliers, legal bodies, etc. This in turn helps increase collaborations and revenue. In QBB, we strongly believe that now we are not just a sample and data biorepository, but we are also a knowledge repository. We have a wealth of validated know-hows or SMEs, which allows us to further streamline our processes, resources, and the way we work. Certifications has definitely empowered us all. Quality is not just an act or habit. We believe it's a language. When we communicate with our colleagues or peers from other research institutes or organizations, certification serves as a badge of excellence. Using this language of quality significantly increases our morale and reputation. Once you practice any standards or best practices, you build a culture of quality. It makes you keep learning. Regulation changes, standards are revised, technologies get updated, and this gives us all an opportunity to be adaptable and flexible to changes. As I conclude our day one session, obtaining and implementing certification standards or best practices, I believe, the win-win situation for us all. I acknowledge everyone's efforts here at Qatar Biobank in achieving it all within the last decade. On behalf of Dr. Eleni and I, we would like to thank International 100K Plus Cohorts Consortium for giving us this opportunity to showcase the work of Qatar Biobank. Please register and join my colleagues in the next sessions to know more about us. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Wilma. That was, again, just an outstanding presentation on the QA/QC processes at the Qatar Biobank. Very complete. So this session is now open for questions. You can ask questions in the chat. You can also ask questions directly in the Zoom call. So please ask your questions. I'll ask Wilma, I'll ask you one question from the chat. And that first question is, what is QBB's plan to transfer or retain the knowledge acquired through your accreditation certification processes?
So to transfer the knowledge, so in the QBB, we have a Qatar Biobank portal in which we maintain all our records, those quality records. We have our training records. We have got our folders for scientific knowledge. So we have the policy of train the trainers. in doing so, we make sure that the cycle of exchanging knowledge is a continuous cycle in Qatar Biobank. And of course, we have very detailed work instructions and procedures. And if we are creating the work instruction based on certain references, we even add these references in our portal. So anytime if that staff is not available and there's another staff doing the same work, so they're aware of where to get this knowledge from, where was this built from. And I think it's a very holistic approach that we have in Qatar Biobank.
Wonderful, thank you. So second question from the chat is, excuse me, what do you look for when developing and upholding your quality standards?
So when we are developing or reviewing our quality standards, so first we have a look at what is already existing. We try to do a gap analysis of our practices and the procedures that we have. We try to gauge if there is some things that we have missed, some things that need to be added, because every time there's a change in the industry, manufacturer reagents change. So because of the reagents, we have to change the practice. We have to do a lot of tweaking in our equipment. A little tweak has a lot of impact on procedural revisions and trainings. So then we have this whole cycle of like PDCA, plan, do, check, act. And I think that forms the basis of how we think and implement our way up to quality.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from anyone online in the Zoom meeting?
Yeah, I have a quick question if you don't mind. Scott?
Please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Wilma, for this insightful presentation. And congratulations on getting the certification by international accrediting body. I know the accreditation or certification is really a tedious process. So I want to ask you, what are the main lessons learned that you can share with the audience or for the biobankers if they are preparing for accreditation? Thank you.
So it actually depends on the maturity of the organization they have and what are the skills they already have in their organization. I think it's very important to first understand which kind of certification the organization is aiming for. And then, of course, you need to go through the standards and make sure that you are able to comply to the standards, because standards requires a lot of controls. You need a lot of resources. You need a lot of documentations. So there has to be somebody, I mean, like a quality manager or something of this sort, who can actually ensure that all these controls are in place. We have the documents and things like that. And then, of course, you need to have the certification body itself. You need to have some, if you're in a beginner level, then you need to have some types of outside help, external help. You need to have consultants on board, because the terminology used in the standards is not easy. It took us a while to get our head around the ISO standards, because understanding the context of organization, clause 4 itself is quite complicated. We took months to develop our QMS manual, and then to have an ISMS manual, and then to integrate all these manuals. It took us years. So I would say that first of all, dedication is required, and then a lot of cooperation and support is required from the colleagues. Yeah, I think teamwork will do it all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have one question, Wilma. You mentioned early on that you had extensive staff training and accreditation. Can you give me a sense of, for staff members, what time commitment that staff training takes initially, as well as for the regular updating of it? How much time is that? Is it hours, days?
So you're asking specifically for training, is that?
For training, yes.
So we have a very dedicated training specialist on board QBB, and she looks after all our training requirements. So if we have an update in our regulatory, so like for example, our staff needs 40 CPD points. So she tries to look for us where there are conferences are happening or any kind of webinars happening, which our staff can join and collect their CPD points, which is also, I mean, like it has to be related to their profession. I mean, not just like any training. So also we have a lot of in-house trainings that we do every year. We have like a lot of health and safety trainings, environmental safety, business continuity, hand hygiene, glassware washing. So these are all like ISMS, QMS, audit awareness, internal audit. We got name it, and we have it all kind of training. So in terms of giving a dedicated time, so we try to plan it in such a way that every training has a repetitive cycle. And if the manufacturers or application specialists are coming from overseas, we try to have like a 4-day session. So 2 days for one group, 2 days for another group. And in this way, all our staff gets the hands-on and the first-hand training from the manufacturer. If not, again, we have the train the trainers practice in QBB.
Well, thank you very much. So we're at the end of our time. I want to, first of all, thank everyone at the Qatar Biobank for all the work that they've put into these presentations that we've seen today, as well as the next 4 days, maybe 5 different presentations that we have over the coming few days. This has been fantastic introduction, and I know there's much more to come, much more in-depth coverage of different areas. And Latifa, if you could tell us about what we can expect from tomorrow's session, that would be wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Scott. Again, yes, it was a really excellent presentation, and thank you, attendees, for your participation. Yeah, tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to have the second module, where I put it on the chats, which is going to, we have 2 guest speakers, Iman Al-Khayyat and Monica Markovic-Bordos. They will be talking about lab design in 2 parts. Part 1, establishing a biobank laboratory, and the part 2, planning and implementation. So we are looking forward to your participation. And thank you, Qatar Biobank team, for your support and collaboration.
One last thing, we do have an evaluation form that we'll mail out to all registrants. Please fill that in. We really want to improve this if we can. I think it's been a wonderful presentation, but there's always room for improvement and training. So please let us know your thoughts and feedback on that. And again, thank everyone that put together the presentations and everyone that was part of watching them today for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.